Hi, and welcome to my presentation of um, the book that I chose for the State Council to um, be introduced into Black History Month, into the senior curriculum as one of the required reading books. So one of the reasons I chose this book, and the name of it is All Boys Aren't Blue by uh, George Matthew Johnson, George M. Johnson, is because I have experienced shame and not talking about gay issues, LGBTQIA community issues in our Black community. It's always been a source of, I think when I was growing up, shame. And I think with this author, what he does, he addresses it in such an incredible a way. He uses his own life experience to walk you through his life and how he walked through his relationship with his sexuality, his parents, his teachers, his friends, and I love his journey. He does it in such an eloquent way, such a kind way, and his parents. That's the part that I really like. They were incredibly supportive, and I think because of the way that his parents handled his him searching for his identity, it gave him the freedom to become himself without so much trauma. Even though he had trauma, it was lessened because he had such a strong support system, and I think that is so important. So it's taken me a minute to introduce this book because I wanted to make sure I got it right, and I want to represent it in the right way. There are certain quotes in the book that I love, and I'm going to get to those. But I think if you have a child, as so many of us do, and they're struggling with their sexuality through high school, which is a time when we are all coming into this space that we're not familiar with. If there are books out there like this to read, and it's relatable for a queer Black male child who can't relate to anyone around them because they don't have the examples that they need, this book would be very helpful at the time that they most need it. And a lot of times, children are not comfortable speaking on these issues with their parents, especially in Black communities, especially if they're a very religious family or they just don't believe in this. And I have that exist in my own family. So some of the quotes I like to read from the book that I enjoyed the most, and there were so many, and I read this book a couple of years ago. I have it on Amazon Audio, and I picked it up again and went through it again. And the first few chapters are so good, but one of the quotes that I like the most, that I think are so relatable to not only the gay community, but it also makes a difference for the LGBTQIAP plus community as well. Any community that has been taught that anyone not straight is dangerous is itself a danger to LGBTQIAP plus people. And I like the way that he put it because I don't think that a lot of communities, especially communities of color, Black people, believe that it's harmful when you're not recognizing someone's sexuality and you're not giving them the space to feel and research who they really are. And I think I've seen that in my family. I've seen that in my community, and I relate to that quote a lot. And a second quote from the chapter 1, because chapter 1 is so good. It's called Smile. If you get into a fight, and this has been said a lot in all families. I remember this so well when I read it. If you get into a fight, you better win the fight, or I'm going to beat your ass when you get home. It is a phrase that I've heard too many times from friends and family through my life. And then he says, being Black and queer brings on layers of issues. And I think being Black in general just brings on so many issues, especially when you're trying to figure out who you are and what your place is in the universe. And I love the way he said that. But one of my favorite parts is on the chapter 9 is called Lost Hope. And he refers to someone as his uncle. And I couldn't really understand if he was an uncle or he just called him uncle, because we call so many people in our family uncles, maybe someone your mom is dating or someone that's close to you, but maybe this was his real uncle, but he called him uncle. And the uncle says to him, your cousins are your first set of friends. And for sure, he was right. And right now I'm home with so many cousins, 40, 50 cousins, and my daughter, when she comes home, she has so many cousins. It's overwhelming, first and second cousin, at least 20, 30 at a time. And that brings another layer of understanding to the Black community, and that some of us have really big families, and some of us really have a lot of first and second cousin, like sisters and brothers. But some of the ways that the book also relates to some of the things that we studied in our Black history course for this semester, I wanted to relate very well. And once I really started to get into this course, it was so amazing. Like, I thought I knew about us, but I didn't. And I think that's a pity, especially how many queer people have participated in every aspects of politics, dance, teaching, every aspect of life in the Black community. And some of those people I would like to mention from like the term queen. I thought the term queen was something recent, but I made this poster to kind of reflect some of the people that I studied and didn't know much about. But William Dorsey Swan, was actually doing drag shows, which they called queens, in 1903. There are photographs dating back to 1903, and actually a post in the Washington Post dated 1888, and he was actually known as the first drag queen. But one of the people that impressed me the most was a political activist. His name was Byron Ruskin. Now, I kind of heard of Byron, but I didn't know about Byron. He was influential with the March on Washington. He organized it. He was side by side with Martin Luther King and so many others. He was not only just an activist, he was a political leader. And he's basically just been removed from our history, not talked about, not celebrated. We never talk about queer people even existing up until this point. But also when we study like dance, I really felt very sad for one dancer. Her name was, I believe it's Edna Guy, who never really got to live to her full potential as a dancer, even though she studied for so long. And one of the reasons I like this book so much, and I think it would make such great reading for a young person, especially a young person seeking self, it reaches into your soul and it shows you a life of a successful young Black man who just happens to be gay. That's it. That's all it is. And if we write more into it, it becomes so much bigger than just our sexuality is just one aspect of who we are. But our Black community, once we can be more accepting, once we have more books like this on our shelves, once we have more things to talk about, more of us to celebrate, and authors like this who produce good material like this for young people who are coming into their own sexuality, they can go and understand that they're not the only ones. So I hope you enjoy this, and I hope you will consider it for Black History Month for the senior class. Thank you so much. Bye.